okay, I anticipate this thing happens every now and then. What can I do to make sure that I prep myself for those days? That, my friends, is called being proactive as opposed to reactive, because that's where us ADHDers struggle, when we're reactive. But imagine how much easier it'll be for us ADHD folk when we're a little bit more proactive and we anticipate the struggles. It's not rocket science, my friends. It's not rocket science.
Hey there, Vibers. Welcome to the Vibe with Kai podcast, where we keep it real, we keep it relatable, and we keep it a little bit funny as we dive into all things mental health, ADHD, and introversion. My name is Kai. I'm your host, and each week we're going to tackle life struggles with honesty, humor, and a whole lot of heart. So whether you're here for practical advice or a little validation or just a laugh about what life is like as an adult in today's world, listen, you are in the right place. We are not about toxic positivity here. We are all about being genuine to each other and to ourselves. And we're talking about real things. And we want to encourage each other and remind you that you are not alone. With that said, my friends, sit back, relax, and let's vibe through this together and enjoy today's episode of the Vibe with Kai podcast.
Welcome to the Vibe with Kai podcast. What's going on, friends? Hi. Happy new week for a lot of you. I can't believe that it is like December. It's the beginning of December. I don't know where time goes. No idea where it goes. I'm looking for my fidget spinner. Oh, there it is. Found it. It's hard for me to record podcasts without my fidget spinner in my hand, because I get very distracted, legit, and I'll just start to ramble, and this helps me not do that. I am just legitimately getting back from Florida. I landed maybe like an hour ago in Philadelphia International, and then my mom picked me up, came here, and I haven't even unpacked yet. I sat down and I'm like, let me record my podcast episode for this week. Make sure that my friends, my vibers, they're in touch with me. I don't want to let them down. I haven't even unpacked yet, but I wanted to sit down and talk to y'all real quick about something that I think is really important. And that is, wait, what topic? Oh, that's what I did. Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, for a brief second, I forgot what the topic was. I remember now. Today's topic is what to do when your ADHD is ADHDing. When your ADHD is ADHDing, what does that mean? That means, those times when your ADHD seems to be a little extra, like when your ADHD struggles seem to be a little bit more than usual, a little bit more than typical ADHD symptoms and struggles. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what I do when my ADHD is ADHDing, pass some knowledge over to you, and hopefully you can get something out of it for all my ADHDers out there. But first, 3 quick things. Number 1, I just told you I was in, Florida this week. I spent most of my time in Marco Island because I was there for some work stuff that was happening. But I started out my week in Miami. It was my first time in Miami. I had never been to Miami before, and my mother had been there, my sister had been there, and I have a friend that lives in Miami. I have a couple other friends that live close to Miami. I've heard nothing but good things about Miami. So I was saying, okay, well, I'm going to Marco Island, which is about a 2-hour drive away from Miami. How about I go to Miami first and then drive over to Marco Island? Got to Miami. First impression, not so great. Did not have a good first experience in Miami, my friends. I was very disappointed. I could probably make a whole podcast episode surrounding just my first impression of Miami, because it was not good. It was not good. It ended up redeeming itself in the long run, but my first impression of Miami, not great, right? So right off the bat, get off the plane, waiting for my baggage, right? Not my emotional baggage, my luggage with all my stuff in it. I carry my emotional baggage with me everywhere. waiting for my baggage. It took 45 minutes for the baggage to get from the plane to the baggage claim. 45 minutes. That's insane. That's a long time for it to take. Like, oh my gosh. I was so, right off the bat, landed in Miami, annoyed, right? Then when you're in Miami, uh, like if you, I rented a car, so I had to go up to the rental car center. And to get there, you had to go through pretty much Narnia. You had to go on an excursion. You remember that movie, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, and they go on this epic long journey? That's what it's like to get from the baggage claim area of Miami Airport to the rental car area of Miami Airport. Good Lord, this was a trek. So, like, the first thing you got to do is you got to go from the baggage claim area up to the third floor, right? So you have to take these elevators. These elevators had to be created in like 1746 because they were the slowest elevators of all time, and it took, no lie, 20 minutes to get onto that, because like there was a lot of people trying to pack in to get into these elevators. It took 20 minutes just to get in the elevator, get up to the third floor, and then you have to trek across the airport. At least where I was, have to trek across the airport to the tram, and then the tram takes you to the rental car center. That in and of itself took another 20 minutes, 25 minutes. So right off the bat, I'm in Miami. I land. It's already late night. And at this point, it's been 2 hours. And I have, after I land, haven't even gotten remotely close to the rental car area yet. Finally, get to the rental car area. I checked in to the rental car place early, right? So all I had to do at Enterprise was go up to the place where they give you the key and be like, hey, I already checked in. Here's my ID, blah, blah. Gave me the key, start to drive, and then you have to check out as you're driving out. Go drive out. They're like, oh, we don't have your information here. Then why the heck did you give me the key? So this lady had to call the manager or whatever. They ended up finding my information because it's definitely there. That took another 20 minutes. So at this point, 2.5 hours, haven't even left the rental car center yet. And again, I got there late at night. So by this point, it's probably around midnight, right? I'm exhausted because I had work during the day, flew, and now I'm here. Then finally get to my hotel, and I stayed at a Hilton because I'm a Hilton baby, right? Stayed at Hilton. It was just not a good Hilton. It was just not good. It was awful. It was so bad. The room was dirty. The doors were off the track. They have like these sliding doors off the track. The shower, cold water. No, there was no hot water at all. The lights weren't working. Like, the only good thing was the bed. The bed was very comfortable. I will give it that. But outside of that, nothing. The what do you call it? The internet. Eh. It was just like, this is at this point, I'm like, I'm already over Miami, and I've only been here for a couple hours. It's first impression. I go to sleep, wake up the next day. I got late checkout, right? I said, can I get late checkout? They said, yeah, sure, right? I even paid for it. Get late checkout. So now I don't have to check out till like 1, I think it was 1 or 2 o'clock. I get a knock on the door at 11:01 from housekeeping. Your checkout time is now. You have to get out. No, I'm not getting out. I have late checkout. They're like, we don't have that in our system. Yes, you do. Had to call down to the front desk. They confirmed it. Good Lord. I'm like, I need to get out of this hotel. So instead of waiting for the late checkout, I literally just packed my stuff and I left. Ended up working in a Starbucks for like 2 or 3 hours on some stuff because I had a presentation that day that I was doing. Finally ended up in downtown Miami. Once I was in like downtown Miami, I was fine. Like, that's a very beautiful area. It was very nice. I was at the Hyatt, gorgeous place. Did my presentation, went for a walk. It was gorgeous. Had to leave to go to drive to Marco Island, hit all of the traffic. Apparently all of Miami was apparently driving a car that day. Sweet Lord, baby Jesus. You hear my cat? Even my cat was like, I agree with you, Kai. I just talked for 10 minutes about Miami, but that's important. I just want to tell you that story. So that was thing number one. Thing number two, oh wait, before I go on, thing number one about Miami, I'm going to go back. I'm going to experience, I was only there for like 24 hours. I'm going to go back. I'm going to experience it again because I think that's important for me to give it another shot because everybody has said really good things about it. So I will go back and I'll give it another chance. That was thing number one. Thing number two, I got to meet Gary Vee this week. For those of you that don't know who Gary Vee is, Gary Vaynerchuk is a very successful content creator, entrepreneur, businessman. He was the keynote speaker at the conference that I was running with my team. Got to meet him, got to take a picture with him. Very kind, very, very, like, such a nice guy. Shout out to Gary Vee. Really great guy. One of the things that he said that I found really interesting, and I want to pass this over to you guys. My cat even agrees. Again, my cat is like, yes, I agree with you, Kai. Gary Vee is amazing. One of the things that Gary Vee said that I thought was really interesting, and I'm going to be doing some more research on this. He said that we are no longer in the world of social media. We're in the world of interest media. I found that fascinating, right? Because like, remember when we first started using like MySpace and Facebook, you know, back in the day, it wasn't about how many followers you had, right? It wasn't about any of that. It was just about staying connected with your friends and your family. That's it. It was about making content. It wasn't about that. But then it turned into social media as we know it today. And now it's starting to turn into interest media, which means that you are on social media and following things and people because that thing or person interests you. You may not have a direct connection to them. Like, for example, some of the people listening to this podcast, you and I have never met before in our lives, but I talk about introversion. I talk about ADHD. I talk about cheese. And you're like, I want to follow that guy because those are things that you find interesting. He said that we're no longer in the world of social media. We are in the world of interest media. And once businesses and, brands start to understand that, their marketing will get better. I found that fascinating. And I want to pass that over to y'all. That was thing number two. Thing number three, introvert travel. Introverts travel, friends. I was posting my entire trip. I was posting, hey, I'm out Florida traveling. And I got so many DMs from people being like, oh my God, you are out of the house and there's people around you, but you're an introvert. Yes, I'm an introvert. Doesn't mean I'm a hermit. Yes, I'm at a place that there's people. Doesn't mean that I'm interacting with them. Doesn't mean that I'm socializing with them. I cannot stress this enough. Introversion does not automatically mean socially anxious. That does not automatically mean that you're shy. It just means that I just prefer to recharge my battery alone. Introverts travel, friends. Sorry to break it to you. Introverts like to travel too. And like, recharging your battery doesn't always mean that you recharge your battery at home. Sometimes you recharge your battery at a park. Sometimes you recharge your battery in a intimate conversation with somebody that you love. We all have our different ways. Introversion is the spectrum, my friends. So don't be surprised if you see an introvert traveling or performing, dancing. Introverts doesn't necessarily mean quiet or shy. Remember that. Always remember that. All right, that was the three things. Let's move on to the topic today. When your ADHD is ADHDing, good Lord. Sometimes there's some days when your ADHD is just like particularly challenging. You know what I'm saying? Right? And it's hard to manage that sometimes, right? Like, because sometimes your ADHD, it's a little bit harder to manage on some days than other days, right? So it's important that you recognize the signs. You got to know how to identify when your ADHD is ADHDing, right? What are some common signs? Some common signs include sounds like heightened distraction, heightened impulsivity, difficulty starting or finishing tasks, emotional overwhelm. Those are all things that people with ADHD already have to deal with, right? But some days it's a little bit more difficult. And that's why I came up with the phrase your ADHD is ADHDing. Because it's like no doubt. Oh yeah, I have ADHD. That's no doubt. Right? It's important for you to know that when you feel that way, my ADHD friends, when you feel that way, it's valid. It's a valid experience. It's not, I don't want you to beat yourself up. I don't want you to think that like you're doing it wrong or you're not handling it correctly or whatever it may be. No, it's a valid experience. It happens more often than you may realize. Having tough ADHD days are normal. That is a normal thing for people that are diagnosed with ADHDs, especially adults. It doesn't matter, or it doesn't define your abilities. It doesn't define your progress, right? It is a normal thing that happens. I want to make sure that you all understand that. So how do you cope with it? Well, I'll tell you what I do. Um, I step back. I take a step back and I just reset. Because if I don't, I'll start to spiral. You know what I'm saying? Like I have to reset. I have to just take a moment and just take a step back and just like pause and breathe. You know what I'm saying? Respira. They gotta just breathe. And another thing that I do, I just simplify the task that I'm doing. I break it into smaller steps. I focus on just one thing at a time. If I find myself feeling this overwhelmed, right, I take a step back, I breathe, and I just break the task down, whatever I'm working on, break it down into even smaller, more manageable steps. They have to. Otherwise, I'm a hot mess, right? There's a lot of different things that you could do. And one of the things I do is I set a timer. Set a timer. Legit. That's this necessary structure in your day that can help you manage your tasks, so on and so forth. If that happens to be something that you're struggling with when your ADHD is ADHDing, use a timer. I use timers all the time. I also lean into the support. I ask for help. I delegate. I delegate to my team at work if that's an issue. Or by delegate, I don't. That doesn't necessarily mean delegate it to somebody else. Sometimes I delegate it to myself for another day or another situation, or when I feel as though my ADHD may not be as ADHD, ADHD, but it's not ADHDing as bad. You know what I'm saying? And cats are in the background. Whenever I record a podcast, my cats are just like, let's make all of the noise. And then once I hit the end button, I stop recording. They're like, let's be quiet. That's how it always works. Um, I I think that one thing that people probably struggle with when it comes to ADHD, especially when their ADHD is ADHDing, they're not kind to yourself. Friends, my ADHD friends, you got to give yourself grace. You got to be kind to yourself. You got to. You got to acknowledge your limits on difficult days. You got to avoid the self-criticism. I say that to you because that's what I tell myself. It's easier said than done, right? But I try to focus on self-compassion. I try to celebrate the small wins. That's important. Small wins, self-compassion, give yourself grace. Take care of your body. Hydrate, eat balanced meals, get some movement in, even if it's a short walk. Sometimes when I'm at work, if my ADHD is ADHDing, I go for a walk around my building. Again, remember I was telling you before, take a step back, reset. For me, that's taking a walk around the building. It's as simple as that sometimes, right? You gotta know the connection between the mind and the body when it comes to managing your ADHD symptoms. You know what I'm saying? There's so many tools out there, tools out there as well, right? Planners, checklists, visual aids. You have those, and they can come to you can use those to your advantage when your ADHD struggles are a little bit heightened. You know, like like you gotta have that there. You gotta sometimes even anticipate that you might be struggling sometimes with your ADHD. Okay, I anticipate this thing happens every now and then. What can I do to make sure that I prep myself for those days? That, my friends, is called being proactive as opposed to reactive, because that's where us ADHDers struggle, when we're reactive. But imagine how much easier it'll be for us ADHD folk when we're a little bit more proactive and we anticipate the struggles. It's not rocket science, my friends. It's not rocket science. You got to anticipate this. Set yourself up for success. And here's the thing: when I say give yourself grace, I really do mean it. It's okay if you don't get all your stuff done. Progress isn't linear, and one tough day does not negate your efforts. Give yourself grace. You're doing the best that you can with what you got. That's a win. That's a win. You know? Ultimately, friends, I just hope you know that you're not alone. It's ADHD, man, especially adults struggling with ADHD. It's easy to feel alone, right? It's easy to feel like these struggles that we have that nobody understands the feeling. No, we get it. We get it. There's people out there that get it. That understand you are not alone. I am here with you. My Michael Jackson impression. You're not alone. Seriously. Like, look at me. I'll use me as an example. I talk about ADHD on a public platform every day. People are like, oh, you got ADHD figured out. No, the heck I do not. Absolutely not. I just share my journey. That's all I do. I don't have it figured out. I just try to share my experiences and share the things that I've learned. And hopefully you could take a thing or two out of it. But at the end of the day, I just hope you know, I don't have it figured out. I don't know anybody that does. So give yourself grace. You're not alone on this at all. Connect. Find communities like the Vibe with Kai community. Like, we'll come and join our little community, and you'll find a bunch of ADHDers that are going through the same thing as you. And a lot of us like cheese as well. So if you like cheese and you have ADHD, you're in the right place. Listen, tough days are temporary, especially when it comes to ADHD. Always remember that you have gotten through the worst of your days every time. You've gotten through it, and you're going to get through it again. Give yourself grace. Be proactive, right? And set yourself up for success, and understand that not every day is going to be a great day when it comes to ADHD. Sometimes your ADHD is going to be ADHDing, and that's okay. That's normal. Don't get mad at yourself. You're doing the best that you can with what you got. I'm proud of you. I mean that. Seriously. I don't know if anybody said that to you today, or this week, or this month, or in a very long time. However long it may be, just know that I'm proud of you. Because if you're like me and you were an adult that was diagnosed with ADHD later in life, it opens your eyes for sure, and you think about what life could have been like if you would have caught it sooner, right? You get mad at yourself and other people, right? Understandable. But you push through, and you give it everything you got. That's all we can do. Y'all know what my favorite quote is. It's from the musical Hamilton, the song Wait For It. Aaron Burr, he says, I am the one thing in life I can control. I mean that. And I'm proud of you. Focus on the things that you can control, especially when it comes to ADHD. Be proactive. Give yourself grace. You're going to be all right.
And that's a wrap on this week's episode of the Vibe with Kai podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you found a little bit of comfort in today's episode, and I hope that you're walking away with a little bit of encouragement, and I hope that you laughed a little bit along the way. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like and subscribe and leave a review. Let me know what you thought of the episode. I really want to hear your voice. I want to hear your story. I want to hear all about your journey. Let's keep the conversation going. Make sure you follow me on all of your favorite social media platforms. Follow me on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it may be, at The Vibe with Kai for more tips, more laughs, and more real talk. Remember, my friends, you are not alone on this journey. We are in this together. And until next time, stay kind to yourself, embrace the journey, and keep vibing. I'll catch you next time. Much love. Good vibes.